The purpose of this video is to demonstrate to you how to plan and analyze the solution to activity 11, VAT and total amount, on page 19 of your notes. Please do not just view the video, only watch this video once you are very sure you've tried your best to do the solution yourself. Okay, so first we read the problem. You must plan the solution, write an algorithm, then write a Scratch program. What is the problem? You need to read the amount a customer spent at a bookshop. Then the program must calculate and display the amount of VAT the customer should pay. So we assume VAT is 15%, as well as the total amount. So that means the original amount, that amount spent, same thing, plus the amount of VAT. So remember from the previous examples, first thing you do is you go to the last column of your planning table, your IPO table, and you go and determine what should you need to calculate and or display. So in this case, they told you they want to see the VAT amount on its own separately. So the program must calculate and display the amount of VAT. So that means the VAT only. So the amount of VAT only should be displayed, and then your program must take that original amount that the person bought for and must add the VAT and display that combined amount then. So now you can already go and choose some variables. So it means two variables need to be created, or value need to be assigned to them. And let us call the one R VAT. We know it's going to be a real value because it's money. Money is always real. There's always decimal values involved. And the second one we can call R total pay. Again, money, so it is real. Okay, that was step one. Step two, which values must you use? Well, you must use 15% because that's VAT in South Africa currently in 2020. So 15%, that's a fixed value. But what else do you need before you will be able to calculate the amount of VAT and the amount to pay? You will need to know how much did this person buy for? What was the amount the customer spent? So the amount spent by customer. So here you can write it in any way you want, even in your own language. And then we must make choose a variable. So let's just choose the value R spent. Again, real, it's all to do with money. Okay, now you know what is your input, you know what your fixed values, you know what is your output. Now you need to get to the calculation, how to get from the input to the output. So first, again, we say, let us now pretend we are back in math class and we know this input value. We know that value that is spent is 245. If I now have my calculator and I have a pencil and I have paper, I can calculate. What is the amount VAT that needs to be paid on an amount of 245? That's why you attended math class. Now you will know, we hope, that it is 15 divided by 100 of multiplied by 245, and that will give you 36.75. So obviously that is the rand value. So the VAT only to be paid on this amount is 36.75 rand. So if I need to calculate the total, I will say, oh, it's that 245, the original value, the amount spent, plus the 36.75, and that will give you 281.75. And those are your two values that you need to display now. So now we need to write formulas for that. So now we need to go and look again at these real values and see what have we actually calculated here and what was the meaning of all of this. How do I now translate it into an algorithm, pseudocode, something the computer will be able to calculate in the end? So that means I have to use variables. So the amount VAT I'm going to store into the variable called RVAT. So how did I calculate the VAT? When I knew the value, I took 15%. So I can also write it as 0.15 that you learned from math. 15 divided by 100 is 0.15. So just for short, I write it like that. Multiplied by, there I used 245, but now I write it as a general formula. So that 245 meant the original amount the customer spent. So it's this variable. So times R spent. Then how did I do the total pay? I took that original amount, which is R spent, plus I added that value, which came from here, that is actually R VAT. So now I write it in terms of variables. I look at my original values when I knew what the value was, but now I translate it into formulas. Similar to mathematics, here we just call it an assignment statement. I take 15% of the value and I go and assign it to the variable RVAT. It means I store this value in the variable called RVAT. I store this calculation, the result of that, into the variable RPay. Okay, now my IPO table is done. Input, processing, output. Now I need to write an algorithm. So the algorithm is just pseudocode. So I just write step by step, how is this program going to execute? I planned it. I know now what is my input, processing, output. Now I just write it down from top to bottom, the way the computer will do it. Again, because we're using Scratch, we can say when the user clicks the green flag, and I have end, and in between comes my input, processing, output. One input, ask what is the amount spent, enter R spent. So that value that will be punched on the keyboard will be stored in the variable called R spent. And I've already done my formulas when I did my IPO table. So now I just write it here neatly, 0.15 times R spent. Our total pay is R spent plus the VAT. And now I must do two output statements, because remember when we planned, we said there will be two outputs, so two variables, both of them must be displayed. So in the first statement, I'm going to say, display these words for me. The VAT is R. So I put double quote to show exactly these words must appear in the speech bubble that the sprite is going to say. But also display then for me the content inside of the variable called RVAT. Next statement is, I want to display the words exactly. Total to be paid. I must display the R sign. End of my double quotes, that must appear in the speech bubble, but also, so added to that, display for me the content in the variable R total pay, because that's where the answer to the calculation was spent. But now it must appear on the screen so that the user can see what the value was. Now you are going to take all of this and translate it block by block into a Scratch program. The full Scratch program is also available on my tutor in the folder with the Scratch solutions. But make sure you try it first before you just go and look at the answer. Now, how do you know whether your program was correct? Well, here we are providing you with test data. So data that you can use to test your program. So we already wrote the program, we know it is correct, and then if you say you spent 100 Rand, your program should display 15 Rand VAT and 115 Rand total pay. If you run the program again and you enter the value 250.88, then these are the values that should be displayed. So you can go and test. If your program does not give these answers, it means somewhere you made a mistake. See something in Scratch that is not totally the way we would like it, but to change it is a lot of code, so we're just going to accept it for now for Scratch. It does not give you 2 decimals only. There's not an easy way to do it in Scratch. We know actually this value should be 1,348 Rand and 51 cents. That 2 should not be there. Here also the 2 should not be there. But for Scratch it is quite a mission to change it. So we say we would prefer to have 2 decimals for a monetary value. Monetary value just means a value that indicates money is involved. But when we are going to write programs in Java, it will be much easier to change these values to display only 2 decimals. So then we'll take care of that problem. For now, all the time you're using Scratch, don't worry, just display all of that. Okay, good luck. You can continue with your notes now.